Tesla expected to report first quarter deliveries next week. Joining us now on why he's lowering his price target on the stock ahead of those numbers is Dan Ives, Wedbush Securities managing partner. I don't know, it just makes me smile a little bit, Dan. You could be lowering your numbers because the stock's at 175 and your target's 315. That'd be a good reason. We'll get all your other reasons, but that's a good start, I think. But it's a little bit odd. You're going down $15 to 300, and you're keeping an outperform rating. All this sounds sort of, I don't know, too little, too late.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's obviously a great point. We're bullish for Tesla on the other side.
Well, you must be, because you still have a $300 price target.
This challenging
what's that return from 180 to 300 is? So you're still looking for like a 70% return.
Yeah,
right?
and look, we've been here before. In other words, like there's no doubt, and we call it out. I mean, this is a code red situation for Tesla. I mean, they are going through some dark days in China from a demand perspective. But Joe, I believe on the other side of this is a company, not just from an FSD perspective, but from volume that could start to get 2.5, 3 million vehicles per year as we go into the next few years. Our whole point here is you're in between two growth waves here. They clearly need to lay out a strategy for investors because this is going to be a rip the Band-Aid off delivery quarter next week, and there's no smoke and mirror about it. And I think right now for Musk, I kind of view it as a fork in the road period to handhold investors through this.
You are pretty blunt. First quarter deliveries for Tesla, and we'll find out next week, but you expect it to be a nightmare quarter because of China and China demand.
Yeah, I mean, China, we originally had that up 3-4%. It's going to be down 3 to 4%. And the issue here, is just that Game of Thrones price war that's happened in China with EVs. It's hurt Tesla, and I think right now the problem is, do they continue to cut prices, or do they ultimately hold serve and focus on where demand could be? And I think as much as we talk about FSD and why we're long-term bullish, and I do believe we're sitting here a year and a half from now at $1 trillion plus market cap.
Yeah, so when we were up at 300 or 299, wherever it was, I get at that point, were you still worried about supply and you didn't see the demand issues coming?
Yeah, I think where we were dead wrong is underestimating just how bad China demand was going to be.
China demand.
So for us, when I look back, that's really what's caught us, I think, many by surprise in terms of just how quickly demands come off, but also with no adult in the room, and with 2 disaster conference calls in a row, they haven't laid out guidance. They haven't given the strategy. You've had other noise in terms of the AI issues with Musk and obviously the Delaware comp issue, which is added to it. But I think that's the problem. They haven't laid out the strategy to where investors right now feel like they're blindfolded playing darts.
Do you have a price target in terms of 300, but do you think we're near a low here? Depending on what happens next week?
I mean, I think right now a lot of the bad news is I mean, we wouldn't be bullish if I didn't think that this stock is
Why not put a buy on it then?
That is our highest rating.
Outperforms your highest rating?
Outperforming. It's on our top picks list. And I just view it as we've been through these white knuckle periods before over the years. This is another one now that we're hitting. And we're just calling it out, give out the strategy to what Musk needs to do in the conference call to get through some dark days
He doesn't
ahead.
really listen, though, to we've seen when you ask him about how do you feel about criticism, he doesn't, he's going to do what he thinks is right, and he's in a position to be able to do that.
No doubt, but I do think...
You said no adults in the room. You think he'll return to giving the street what it wants in these calls?
Well, I think ever since they lost their CFO since August, there have been basically Nightmare on Elm Street conference calls. This, I believe, is a wake-up call from a demand perspective. And look, if they don't lay this out in terms of the strategy and turn this around, then you could not just have some darker days, but I believe a lot of investors will start to lose faith in where the Tesla story is going, even though we're in between two growth waves. And that's our whole point, is that this is a nightmare in the near term. There's massive growth on the other side. You need to handhold investors through it no different than we've seen Jensen, Cook, and the others over the years.